Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it, This is Your Reality, but it's not your reality. You're like, what the heck are you saying? Okay, let me explain. It's based on a question somebody asked. And the question says, question, how come you stress the fact that I don't exist first, while later saying that the only real fact is that I exist? Also, as confirmed by many near-death experiences, I suspect there is an individuality called its soul that does survive death. Non-duality may inadvertently try to kill a person's authentic soul, which is immortal. That which makes me, my inner core, never dies. And yes, it may be connected to everything, but it also has an individual flavor to it. In non-dual talks, soul and individuality is an illusion, and I don't agree with it, because after all those talks telling me I don't exist, here I still am. What do you think? Thank you. It's a very, very good question. It's very simple, really. You just make sure that we don't confuse with language and everything. Let's begin with it says, how come you stress the fact that I don't exist first, while later saying that the only real fact is that I exist? Okay, let's put it this way. Right now, this human experience is my reality. How do I know? If I hit my hand with a hammer, it's going to hurt. There seems to be that if I'm hungry, I need to eat something to satisfy that hunger. You see? The senses may show a world. Okay? Well, this is my reality at this level. But it is not the reality of who I am. You see? When you're sleeping and you're dreaming, when the mind's attention is on the dream is its reality, but it's not the reality of what the dreamer of the dream is. So the dream cannot affect the dreamer of the dream because it's not real, but because the mind believes in the dream as if it is its reality, it affects the dreamer psychologically. Not physically, but it does so psychologically. See, therefore, for the dreamer of the dream is reality, even though it is not ultimate reality. You see? So here we're looking at the experience as our reality, while simultaneously we know that I am, which is my reality, capital R. Now you may ask, okay, well, if this is not my reality, then how do I handle myself in this? Because I'm a little confused here. So this is very simple. I look at the experience, which is the appearance, so to speak. But if I don't believe the thoughts that are suggesting that this is my reality, I experience what is referred to as the peace that surpasses all understanding. That is what is meant to by living in the world, but with a mind that is not of it. That is the benefit that is practical at this seeming experience. Now, when I am not identified with the content of the mind, not reacting from fear, I see how life moved this instrument or this image or whatever functioning in this world that seems to be my reality, but it is not. I still act as if I do the things most people do, but with a different mindset. You see? If on the other hand I believe the content of the mind, well, there may still be reaction in the world of appearances, but the reaction is charged with fear. You see? Because I am believing as if this is my only reality, but in reality this is just a seeming reality that has nothing to do with who or what I am. Do you see? So once again, this world of appearances seems to be my reality. But ultimately, it is not my reality. Because reality is not personal. It simply is. See? That's why I can use those words in the same sentence. In this seeming world of appearances, yeah, this seemed to be my reality, but ultimately it is not my reality, because my reality is I am, and I am is not a personal thing. It's simply existence, pure existence, beingness, that which cannot be taught nor described. You see? That's why in the Tao it says that the Tao that can be named is not the real Tao. You see? So this is something that may be difficult to grasp, but when you really do the investigation, you realize, of course, yeah, that's true. Because thoughts appear, sensations appear, but the I, which is witness of all of that, it's permanent. It's like I said before in another video, I think it was in the English video, if not I did it in the Spanish video, but anyhow, it's like the space. You are the space. And in the space, a body may appear, and the body may disappear. But the space, which is in which the body appear and disappear, does not. It remains permanent. Well, that is what you are when I mean that's what you are. While a body seems to be here, it appears as if though the body is what I am. But when you do the investigation, you find out that's not the case, because you cannot tell where the boundaries are of who I am, that which is aware of the body. The capacity of being aware of the body, where are its limits? You see, where it begins, where it ends. All that there is what is. So that is what I mean by the fact that this is my reality, the appearance, but it's not actually my reality. And in that sense, yes, I trust that I don't exist, you see. And yet, the only thing that exists is what I am. But I'm not talking about an object. I'm not talking about a body. I'm talking about the I am. So you see, so the body is an appearance, like in the dream. When you look at the dream, and the dream looks very real, and it appears that there's a body in there, and you say the body exists in the dream. No, the body doesn't exist in the dream. You can never find the content of the dream, but yet it appears real to the mind that is dreaming it. You see? So hopefully I was able to clarify this particular segment of the question, you know. Then it says, also as confirmed by many near-death experiences, I suspect there is an individuality, call it soul, that does survive death. Okay. A near-death experience does not represent non-duality. A near-death experience represents an experience that seems to be happening to someone. So you're still within the realm of duality. Now, the beauty of a near-death experience is that it begins to question this idea that I am a body. How? It's very simple. Let's say someone is in bed, okay? In the near-death experience, some may say that they can see the body. Some people don't have to have near-death experience. They can have what is referred to as out-of-body experiences, but it doesn't matter. In a near-death experience, they suggest that maybe they were dead clinically, but there's an aliveness that was aware of the body. You see? So what is that aliveness? That aliveness, when you label it here as individual soul, well, you could say that, or you could also say is the all-encompassing everything. That for once is no longer limited to a particular location called a body. You see? So that which is aware does not necessarily has to be an individual soul. That which is aware could be the whole everything, that now in a localized point it seems to be able to look at a particular event, but that doesn't make it an individual soul. It just simply is the wholeness. For example, when you're sleeping and you're dreaming, in the dream you take the position of someone who can see everything, and you say, this someone who can see everything has an individual perception. But the thing is that not only that perception, but also everything that is perceived, even though it may appear that is separate from that which is perceiving, all of it comes from the very same source, the very same mind. And that mind is not divided into perceiver and perceive. That mind is the perceiver and is also the perceived. You see? So when you bring it to the mind, there's no individual souls. All that there is one source from which everything seems to manifest from. So therefore the mind would be the only thing, and everything else, even if you want to talk about individual souls, all these individual souls, they seem to be coming from the very same source. That source is oneness. That source is not a soul. It doesn't have a personal soul. It's just the everything. You see? So in near-death experiences, there's still a position of an individual perceiving something. But once again, the beauty of that is begins to question, then maybe I'm not the body. Because if I was a body, it's not that this capacity of witnessing a body and everything else would be there, is that the body would levitate and would look at everything with the belief that it's a body, but from a different space. But in near-death experiences, you don't see a body levitating, looking at the world. You see even the body that you think is your body, but you look at it from a different perspective. Again, that invites you to question, am I really a body? What was it aware of the body? See? But that's when you call it soul and you call it individual soul. You see? The invitation here is that that is not an individual soul. That is just perception from a broader awareness, which is not individual. It's whole. That's the wholeness we're talking about. See? And then you say, non-duality may inadvertently try to kill a person's authentic soul, which is immortal. Once again, we addressed that already. The soul, that you call it soul, is another seeming individuality, but when you look at a near-death experience, you're not looking at it from a perspective of a personal soul, but that's how the mind interprets it. You see? So if the mind interprets it that this is my personal soul, you cannot even see the soul, or you notice its perception. Right now, notice that perception is appearing, right? It seems as if you perceive everything. The problem is that you believe that you are the one perceiving, and this is what you call me. I am perceiving. But once again, when you're sleeping and you're dreaming, in the dream, the character in the dream may say, I am perceiving, which the character cannot say that because everything is fueled by the mind. But again, within this example, that's all I can say. But there's no character in the dream saying I'm perceiving anything. It's the mind which creates the whole thing that now takes the position of that character in the dream, and now the mind itself says, I am perceiving such and such. But in reality, everything comes from the very same mind, you see? Then you say, that which makes me, me, my inner core never dies. Yeah, but that inner core is not personal. See what the challenge is here? When you make your inner core as personal, then it makes sense. Okay, my inner core, which is a soul, which is personal than other souls. But the invitation here is that there's no inner core, it's only wholeness. It only happens that when wholeness may look at itself from this perspective, may appear that I am different from you. But that same wholeness, when it looks from your perspective, it appears that you are different from me. It's like you're looking at me from your perspective, I'm looking at you from my perspective. But from wholeness, where would be the perspective? You see? From wholeness, tell me where are the sides. From which way wholeness says, I'm going to put myself in a position to look at myself. No, because wholeness already is. It doesn't take perspectives. You see? It's like when you're sleeping and you're dreaming, from which position you have to put yourself to see yourself as the mind. You cannot, because you are the mind. But in the dream, it appears as if you can take perspectives. But from the mind, all that there is the mind. You in bed, that's it. Continues. It says, and yes, it may be connected to everything, but it also has an individual flavor to it. Once again, the idea that it's connected to everything assumes that there is a separation. In non-duality, there is no separation. Nothing is connected to anything. That's why we have to be careful with the language. See, I am not connected with you, and you're not connected with me. You and I are one and the same. As simple as that. But it appears as if you and I are two different things, because that which is whole may seem as it appears, as it takes two different perspectives. But even if you take the perspective of a you and a me, that doesn't make us, you and I, connected. You and I are exactly the same thing always. We never change. That's what is meant by we are all one. You see? And the only thing that makes believe that you and I are disconnected or separate is a thought. Without the thought that suggests that you are you and I am me, what remains? That's what we're pointing to. And that cannot be answerable. It's simply life. It simply is. Even while it appears that I am in a world of appearances that may seem real to me, but in reality it is not. But we cannot talk about this, because even talking about it gives reality to it. But when it is pointed to, then you continue your normal life, living in this seeming real world, and yet you know the truth underneath it all. And that's the peace that surpasses all understanding. And then continue. In non-dual talks, soul and individuality is an illusion, and I don't agree with it. Well, I already addressed that before. You don't agree with it because you're taking the position of a you, of an individual who now has an agreement. We're not here about agreeing or disagreeing. We're hearing about noticing what is. You see? So as long as you keep holding to the position of a you, as a seeming individual, of course you can disagree and you can agree on everything. But here we're dismantling everything. And when everything is dismantled, all you simply see or perceive the seeming world of appearances with all these different flavors and colors, but you know what you are, and what you are is what everything is, and everything is one and the same, you see? And you say, because after all those talks telling me I don't exist, here I still am. What do you think? Thank you. Okay, well again, all those talks will be saying that you don't exist, and yet you say, here I still am. But the question is, are you here as what? See? If you say, I still am as an individual, make perfect sense. But if you say, I still am as essence, it also makes perfect sense. But essence, there's no separation, no individuality, is life. And you are alive. And this is where this is pointing to. And if you try to filter it through the thought, makes no sense, because the thought is the belief in separation. The thought is what suggests that you are you and I am me. Without the thought, what remains? What remains is what is. And that's what you are. This is where all this is pointing to. This is why this is very simple. It seems as though I still interact with others, while simultaneously there's a recognition that I am. And that's what I said, I am. I am is the ultimate truth, because there's not even an I am that can say I am, but that's a limitation of language. We can say am. I wrote one of the books that is titled Am. I was going to title I am, but I say, am, because am, live, liveness, truth. I don't know what, again, you cannot call it anything, you see, but but the fact is that I am, you see, that's all the fact. You cannot say you're not. The question again is that if you believe you're something or someone, then this argument may make perfect sense. But what if you're no one? You see, you're no thing. Not that you're nothing, you're no thing. You see, and in that sense, you're everything. That's why Nisargadatta Mahara used to say, when I know that I'm nothing, that's wisdom. When I know that I'm everything, that is love. And between the two, my life moves. Well, this is the inspiration that came through. I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can become evident.